All right, terrific. So let's get to, there we go. Let's get to wrapping these edges. And really it's more about the heat sealing than it is about the wrapping. It's not much wrapping going on. And by the wrapping, I just mean the little tiny curl over these edges that's going to be there on some of them. And then we're going to have to do a little bit of trimming over on the other side. And I think then we're going to wrap this one up. Terrific. Well, let's go ahead and heat seal all this. All right, so what I like to do is pick somewhere to start, and then we're going to go all the way around the bumper from there. So I'll show you kind of what I do here. So I'm going to go ahead and start right here. And we're just going to heat those edges up a bit. If you feel that your finger isn't sliding real well across the material, it probably means you're getting the material a little too hot, and you need to speed up or turn the heat down. All right. And then right here I can see I've got a little bit of silver on the edges, so I'm going to go ahead and push those down, and then we'll go over them with some heat. It's nice to push those edges down first when they're hanging off a little bit, because then you run less of a risk of putting too much heat on them. Because obviously when I'm heating this up, if the paint protection film is stuck to the bumper, the heat transfers to the bumper. But if I heat up an edge that isn't stuck to the bumper, then that material is going to get real hot. And then when you run your finger across it, you can, one, scorch the material with the heat gun on the edge, and that'll make it look a little bit white. And then if you go across it with your finger, you can do a couple of things. One, you can kind of mar up the edge, and that's going to make the edge look a little bit white and be more noticeable. And the other thing that you can do is actually bunch the material up a little bit on that very edge, and then you're going to have to trim that off. In most of those cases, you're going to have to trim that off. All right, so get our finger back in there a little bit, because this is wrapping over just a tiny bit. And we'll go around this parking sensor. Now that little part that was sticking off actually stuck itself back down, so I'm not gonna mess with it. It was just real tiny, and I think it's stuck down really good. So all of this is hanging over a little bit too, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of heat on it, and then we're gonna push this over that edge. There we go, and then we'll come back with some more heat on it and heat seal it. All right, and then we're under here. And down this edge. Then we've got this seam here to heat up a little bit. And then on the bottom. So my heat gun is at 700 degrees. And you just want to heat those edges up and push them down. Now, if you see a little bit of a silver on the edge, and then you heat it up and push it down, and it comes back and is silver again, then that means it's going to need a little bit more heat, and then maybe a little bit more pressure with your finger. And on seams, I always give them some extra time, because we want those to stay down really well and not have any silver on a seam. Now the other thing where you butt the film up really well and it's nice and tight, a lot of times you can put some heat on it and you'll actually kind of self-heal that material back together, and that will help keep dirt and things out of that cut in the film right there. So just give it a little bit extra heat and rub over it with your finger back and forth a little bit. That can be real helpful. All right, so you can skip down to a bottom part like this and push it down, or you can just make, you know, a lot of times I'll just stick just to the bumper part. It's like, okay, I'm just dealing with the paint on the bumper. all the way around, and then I'll come back and get these other parts, because you want to be super methodical about this, because every part needs to get heat sealed. So you don't want to be skipping around and miss things. All right, so that was, the edge there was tucked in there just a little bit underneath the plastic, and I couldn't get to it with my finger. So I went ahead and grabbed this card here with this red felt over it, and I'm able to get that in there and get some pressure on it. Now, if this doesn't fit, this helps glide really easily, just like having the glove on. And then if that doesn't work, then I just flip it around and use this much thinner side to get some pressure on it. Okay, and then let's get underneath here. And be careful when you get to these areas that have the seams, because if I just keep running my finger across like this and I heat it up the edge of this material pretty hot, you can actually come across and then you'll run off of this piece of material and bunch up this next corner. So be really careful in those areas that you don't damage the material right in there. All right. All right, so I'm going to, let's see, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I didn't get down in between the grill and the bumper yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now and work my way across. And because I can't get my finger in there, I'll use this Bondo card. Just be really careful not to bunch up those edges, because again here, we have those relief cuts in a couple different spots here. And you don't want to slide off of this piece of material and bunch up the next corner.
Disconnect power from PG&E?
No, why? Okay, great. Let's go ahead and finish working our way around on this bumper and get this all pushed down, and then we'll come back and trim this out, and then we'll trim right back down in here. So that's pretty far back in there as well, so I'm gonna go ahead and put some heat on that and then just follow it with the Bondo card. Now you'll notice on the Bondo card I'm pulling it at a pretty sharp angle to the paint protection film, and I don't know, is that sharp or would that be sharp? No, this would be sharp, I think. Anyway, at about, you know, I don't know, what is that, 10, 20 degrees, something like that. Because if you get too much like this, or if you get a head like that and come across, you'll notice that you'll bunch those edges up more. It's pretty far back in there, so I'm gonna go ahead and use this other sharper edge to get way back in there. Okay, get the bottom side. So here we've got some silver edges, so I'll go ahead and push those down because they've been drying for a while. All the way down and around, and then up underneath this headlight. as well. When I'm going across with my glove here, I do start out pretty light, and then I do give it a little bit more pressure on the next pass on it if I'm doing more than one pass. Okay, bring it on down. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can put too much heat on the material, so be careful with that. Because if you do burn the material and damage the top coat, you know, there's no repairing that. No coming back. So right here is one of the areas we're going to do a little trimming. Alright, great. So we've got the full bumper heat sealed now, other than this area, and then we need to trim this area. Alright, so let's go ahead and trim this out. So what I'm going to go ahead and do with this is I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch hanging over. You basically don't want to leave, a whole bunch, and you don't want to leave more hanging over than you have room to stick to paint when you wrap it in. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and turn here and bring it on down. Like so. Okay. Okay, great. So what we will end up with this one is a little bit of extra material bunched up here, and then we're going to end up with a bit of stretch in this area because it's such a tight corner. So what I'm going to do is put a slit right in the corner there, and this one wouldn't be actually, I'm going to be fine there. And then you know, sometimes I'll put a slit on these corners that are going to have a little bit of extra material bunched up, and then we'll wrap one part and then lay the other part over the top of the other part. Okay, great. Let's get some heat and we'll get that down. And before we do that, let's go ahead and trim this last area here. Not sure how well we're gonna be able to get in here together. Let's try more like this. I bumped this blade bumped into the bumper and I got off my line. It's hard to keep lines nice and straight in areas like this. Just do your best here. Just start back a little bit further there and get back on my line and keep trimming. Okay, let's see if that was enough. Yep, okay, great. I didn't make it all the way up though. That's gonna be okay. We'll retrim that or find another place to cut from. All right, this could have been better, but you get the idea. All right, now that I've got that cut a little deeper there, go ahead and see if we can get it to tear right on that line. Looks like it is tearing back here just in a little spot. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get a, all right, and this one I was able to tear up higher and then bring it back down. Okay, great. Let me get a pair of tweezers for that. Okay, great. That was a little messy, but you get the idea. All right, so I'm just gonna heat this up and then push all this down. So I'm gonna start in all these in the corner first. And then we'll work the middle parts in between the corners. So we'll come down here, get that edge down, get it down on the very, where it makes that turn, heat up the center part, and then wrap that in. All right, so we've got a little bit of bunched up material here. Not sure if you're gonna be able to see that or not. Right here. And what I'm gonna do is just put some extra heat on that. It's probably like a 4 or 5 count there, and then push that down. And that's gonna stay nice and stuck down, and we'll give it one last heat seal on the edges here. Great. Okay, and then down here we'll put some heat on this, and we'll give that edge a final heat seal. Okay, fantastic. All right, terrific. Well, that's the process of installing paint protection film on this front bumper. I'm gonna go through and heat seal this bottom part and make sure everything is staying down, and that's gonna be it. I appreciate you taking a look, like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you on the next one.